Hello everyone, we are going to be taking some notes today for Cyrano de Bergerac. This is the new book that we are going to be reading. It's actually a play. You're going to be watching a PowerPoint presentation essentially, and you need to be taking notes. Okay, feel free to pause, fast forward, rewind, whatever it is that you need to do to take the appropriate notes. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The author of Cyrano de Bergerac is Edmond Rostand. He was born in 1868 and he produced his first play at the age of 20. He had very early success with a play called Le Romanesque. This play became the modern inspiration for the play The Fantastics. This is actually a musical from the 1960s. So if I have any musical theater fans, you might be familiar with The Fantastics. Edmond Rostand also became very popular after he produced Cyrano de Bergerac. The Cyrano character was used as the inspiration for the film version of Cyrano de Bergerac that stays almost identical with the plot of the play starring Gérard Depardieu. We actually might be able to watch this version if our schedule works out, who knows. It also served as the inspiration for the Steve Martin film Roxanne. This is essentially a modern-day Cyrano de Bergerac. It's pretty much the same plot. Legend has it that the first play audience to watch it applauded a full hour after its conclusion. And just a personal tidbit, along with Snape from Harry Potter, Cyrano is one of my favorite heroes in all of literature. Okay, so it's a personal reason why I really love this play, why I think it's great. Some background information. We all know how important the historical context is when beginning a new novel or a new play. The theater during Rostand's day was mostly grim and realistic. The reason for this is that it was during the Industrial Revolution, and it was before the Romantic era, which is what Cyrano de Bergerac was a part of. And during the Industrial Revolution, people were really interested mostly in realistic stories that were very grim and depressing, whereas Cyrano was groundbreaking because its hero was anything but realistic, and it was swashbuckling at its finest. That basically means sword fights. You might have heard of pirates being swashbuckling. Its romantic nature was a breath of fresh air, so as you can imagine, people were ready for a little bit of a break from all of the grim and the realistic literature and art and poetry of the Industrial Revolution. The play harkened back to an era in theater when men were musketeer and women were there to be rescued, and wit was just as important to a hero as how the hero handled his sword. So our heroes during the Romantic era are chivalrous. They are smart, they are intelligent, they are brave, they are poetic. The women are damsels in distress. They are beautiful. They appreciate poetry. So this is a very romantic story. It's very imaginative, and it contains a lot of archetypes. Cyrano's unique blend of honesty, courage, wit, and passion brought back to the stage the type of protagonist it had been missing. So Cyrano is our typical knight in shining armor type of character. The literary focus. For those of you who are interested, the movie poster on the left, that is from the Gérard Depardieu version of Cyrano de Bergerac, the one that we might be able to watch. The date of publication was 1897. Its genre is a play, heroic comedy and romance, split into 5 acts. The setting is 1640. The place is Paris. So start thinking historically of what was going on in France in the mid-17th century. Foils. Christian and Cyrano, two characters in the play, are opposites of one another. They both possess what the other lacks. A lot of you discussed foils in your compare and contrast essays from the book Thief. So you're aware that a foil is when an author introduces a character that is the exact opposite of another character. And the reason the author does this is so that we can better understand each character based on what they are not. So Christian and Cyrano are each other's foil. Dramatic irony. The audience begins to understand that Roxanne, the female protagonist, has fallen in love with Cyrano and his words. Although the audience recognizes this, Cyrano cannot see past his nose at the truth. What that means essentially is that Cyrano doesn't see what everyone else sees. While Roxanne truly appreciates and loves Cyrano for his poetry and his wit and his wisdom and his intelligence, he doesn't believe that a woman as beautiful and as smart as Roxanne could ever love him because of his large and grotesque nose. That is the major conflict, is that Cyrano has issues with his looks. He has a grotesque, very large, misshapen nose that people poke fun at, but his defense mechanism is the fact that he is so smart and he's witty and he's able to make up jokes very quickly to get people off his back. Literary focus, the symbols. Cyrano is symbolic of the strength and importance of inner beauty, while Christian is symbolic of outer beauty. Christian has a beautiful face. He is very attractive, but that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot that he can offer besides that. He's pretty dim-witted. The letters that Cyrano writes are symbolic of Christian's failure to express himself adequately and Cyrano's failure to express himself in action. Again, they're foils. Cyrano lacks some type of confidence physically, and then Christian is unable to express himself through the written word, and Cyrano's able to do that, so they fill each other's voids. Cyrano's nose is the most prominent symbol in the play. Believe it or not, it is representative of society's inability to look past outer beauty to see beauty within. I believe this is a very easy concept to understand. Modern day society places a very high value on looks, and this can be very difficult to see past. It is also representative of a barrier to his love, Roxanne. He doesn't have the confidence to pursue her, and he is reminded of his physical shortcoming every time he opens his eyes. Here is a list of themes and conflicts. A lot of these themes are very typical of something from the Romantic era. You can find these themes in nearly every Romantic era novel, poem, short story. Inner beauty versus outer beauty is unique to Cyrano de Bergerac, but something like the pursuit of love, honor and integrity, bravery and virtue. I mean, come on, there's so many archetypes that possess those themes. Any movie that's got a knight in shining armor followed by a damsel in distress has one or multiple of these themes. Okay, here is an overview of the plot. Notice the love triangle in this image here. You've got one woman, two men. One is obviously Cyrano with the misshapen nose, the other Christian. And it's a bizarre love triangle. One person loves the other while the other actually likes the other person, and shenanigans ensue, and that's where our whole plot comes from. The play centers around a swordsman named Cyrano de Bergerac, who is as deadly with his tongue as he is with his sword. So not only is Cyrano very witty, sharp, pithy, smart, sarcastic, funny, he is also a very good swordsman, and that gets him out of a lot of trouble sometimes. So despite his great skill with swords and metal, he is handicapped with a grotesquely large and ugly nose. A bit of information for you. The play Cyrano de Bergerac is in fact based off of a real person. Cyrano de Bergerac did exist in real life. However, he did have a big nose, but it was not as big and as misshapen as it is portrayed in the play. Apparently it was big and it was grotesque, but not nearly as bad as it is described in the play. His nose is the main reason for Cyrano's only real weakness, the lack of confidence he feels when it comes to matters of the heart. Cyrano is deeply in love with a woman named Roxanne, but because he is so ugly, he thinks that he is beneath her. They are actually distant cousins, and Roxanne, who trusts Cyrano, they are good friends, she tells him that she is in love with one of Cyrano's cadets, Baron Christian de Neuvillette. So they're in the same squad, so to speak. They're all part of the same cadet company, and so Cyrano and Christian, they interact on more than one occasion. They know each other. Cyrano tells Christian of Roxanne's love, but Christian then becomes distraught because he feels that he lacks the poetry and eloquence to woo a woman of Roxanne's caliber. Remember, it's the Romantic era, so in a play, in a novel, the best way to win a woman's affection is through words, through poetry, through song. You have to romance her, wine and dine her. So Christian won't be able to just appear and say, hey, I'm gorgeous, marry me, love me forever. He is going to have to impress her with his poetry and his words and his letters. Well, there's a problem. He can't do that. So Cyrano has the bright idea to write Roxanne pretending to be Christian. And then, of course, shenanigans ensue. There are problems. There are conflicts on top of conflicts. And that creates our whole plot. Characters. You have Cyrano, who is our protagonist, talented with words and steel. He is a member of the Cadets de Gascogne, the Royal Guards. He is confident in almost all things except for love because of his ugly, long nose. Don't feel bad for him because of his nose. He is actually able to handle it very well. Then you have Roxanne. She is beautiful. She is intellectual. She appreciates Cyrano's vast wit, and she loves poetry. She initially falls in love with Christian because of his good looks. Then you have Christian. He also falls in love with Roxanne. While he possesses the beauty that Cyrano lacks, he does not have any of the inherent wit and charm. He is an honorable person and wants Roxanne to be happy. A lot of people automatically assume that Christian is going to be our antagonist, that he is the enemy, the bad guy, the villain. No, absolutely not. He's a good guy. He's just lacking a few things that Cyrano has. And you actually come to respect him throughout the play. There is a villain, however, and his name is Comte de Guiche. This is the play's antagonist. He also falls in love with Roxanne. He has a severe dislike for Cyrano and actually has, tries to have Cyrano killed on multiple occasions throughout the play. All right, guys, so that covers our background information for Cyrano de Bergerac. I will see you in class.